My mom grew up on a farm in northern Minnesota. She first got electricity when she was 7. They were the first farm in their area to get it because other farmers were skeptical of the new creation. Her mom enjoyed giving perms and styling hair, so every fall before school started, my mom got a perm. She didn't like perms and would get a haircut shortly after. Her parents, Emma and Victor, stopped with only one child, probably because they knew they couldn't improve on perfection. She loved swings and everyone had one. A rope swing or a tire swing. My mom was an expert sledder. And loved ice skating. They hoped it wasn't windy so the lakes would freeze shiny or smooth. If it froze during a storm, the lakes would be too rough to skate on for the whole winter. Everyone had ice skates, and they would sometimes skate at night with the moonlight reflecting off the snow, illuminating the lake. And they would have a bonfire burning on the frozen lake to stop and get warm at before skating some more. Cars could drive onto the frozen lakes, but sometimes they would break through. They always had a dog, usually border collies, and they were always named Duke. They were working dogs, and they would corral the cattle and bark if a horse or cow got loose. But my mom wanted something different and got a black cocker spaniel and named it Curly. They always had cats that would keep the mice out of the granary. They always had kids hanging around, friends, neighbors, relatives. They would go bike riding or swimming in the lakes. They would leave in the morning and come back by dark. Some people didn't like being filmed so much, don't you know? They always had to dress appropriately when going to church, school, or the neighbors. That meant dresses, gloves, and hats for women, and suits and hats for the men. She didn't get her first pair of denim jeans until college because denim was worn by men for work. Her dad was a farmer. They grew wheat, barley, oats, flax, navy beans, soybeans, and corn. They sold it all except for a little which they would grind into feed for the cows and horses. Sometimes he would store it until he got a better price. My mom was fascinated by farm equipment. They had tractors, combines, plows, discs, harrows, seeders, swathers, jayhawks, mowers, and balers. They do meals a little bit different on a farm. They have breakfast, but then they have the forenoon lunch, which is typically a donut or cookie and coffee. Then they would have dinner, which we all call lunch, which would be meat, vegetables, pie, and coffee. That was the big meal of the day. Around 3 o'clock, they had what they called afternoon lunch, which was usually sandwiches made up of leftovers from dinner, and then a sweet with some coffee. When work was done, they would have supper, which is like a smaller version of dinner. Scandinavians liked their sweets and coffee, but her dad was always very cautious with her around the machinery. They had riding horses, work horses, and cows. They would sleep in the barn when it was cold. They trusted each other. That's the way it was. They didn't lock their doors to their house, and they'd leave the keys in their car. My mom remembered the smell of clovers from when she was a child. She said it was such a sweet, fresh smell.